Hi class, welcome to Management 360. And this is this week's presentation or lecture. And it's for chapter 7 and chapter 8. So let's dive right in. Chapter 7 is managing cultural diversity. Diversity calls for managing people who aren't like you and who don't aspire to be like you. It's taking differences into account while developing a cohesive whole. The diversity within itself is vitally important to business success, and ensuring that you have people that are not like you is extremely important. Diversity has many different aspects, and which we'll dive into. But one of the key aspects is not just the cultural diversity, but also the ability to put great people around you who are really good at your weaknesses, and people that are going to fit in with the values and will adhere to the mission of your overall organization. But it's very important that you're not getting people or hiring people that are just like you and share the same strengths and the same weaknesses. You need to find people who are smarter than you in some areas, and that's just what you need to do to be successful as a manager. So why managing diversity can be a competitive advantage? It's positive publicity. You see a lot of companies on the news that are not so diversified. I think now in this day and age that is less likely, but it still happens, obviously. And it determines how much airtime and media coverage that gets. But you want to make sure that your company, as tons of different aspects of keeping your company in the good graces of the public, and that's one of them. And again, why managing diversity can be a competitive advantage goes in recruitment, development, and retention. People want to be around people that can offer the best solutions. And you're going to find a lot of retention that way, that you're not just having a bunch of like-minded people with the same personality and attitude or cultural background. Better problem-solving decision-making. If you take people from various parts of the spectrum of experience and education, they're going to have a different perspectives, and the more perspectives and different angles that you're looking at a problem, the better off you're probably going to be to solving that problem the best way possible. Enhanced team performance, lower legal costs. Kind of go back to, if you're not following rules and especially regulations set by the government, you're discriminating, right? You're going to be facing some legal action. Lowering operating costs, success in serving diverse markets, and effective response and advocacy groups. So success in serving diverse markets, the public and people as a whole generally like to speak with like-minded people. And it's kind of the counterintuitive to hiring, right? It has to do with people having a comfort level with people that can relate to them more. So the more diversified you can be, the better you can serve customers and make them feel more comfortable. And effective response to advocacy groups. Why does progress lag behind promise? So lack of systematic planning, lack of patience, focus only on reaching numerical goals. Staff gets diversified, but it does not work. Emotional journey into difficult history and current society relations, and ineffective training. So the promises, the communication, the posters on the wall, right? They're all promises to do certain things. But what compromises the ability to have a diversified workforce, which is some of them are shown on the screen here, is a company's ambition to actually put forth the proper protocols, to put forth the proper groups, advocacy groups internally within the corporation to make it work, to make it happen, to make sure proper HR practices are put in place. Along with what I just said and on the screen is some of the reasons why the progress is lagging behind the promise. Organizational perspectives on diversity, access and legitimacy, discrimination and fairness, integration and learning. The perspective that is most likely to lead to the bottom line results because it focuses on leveraging the different worldviews, skills, knowledge, and experience to change the way work gets done so it can be more likely to lead to better ways of meeting market needs. So what is culture? Culture is the way we do things around here. And by the way, it's you can read a definition of culture, especially from a business perspective. You're probably not going to find the same definition, no matter where you go. Here's one: the collective mental programming of a people. Another one: taken for granted ways of seeing, thinking, feeling, and behaving, which are shared by a group of people. Culture is the story of who we are. The best way I could probably describe this, if you're not or have not been in a corporate or business environment, if you ever worked, you know this, but culture is almost, you can equate it to almost like a feeling. It's how you feel. So let me give you an example. When you walk into your home and your mom and dad, brother and sister there, and you have a generally good home life, how do you feel? So just kind of think about that for a second. When you walk in, everyone's saying, hey, how you doing? What's the feel like? You feel safe. You feel supported, right? You know how things are going to be. You know that dinner's at 5. You know that it's family game night. All these things, how it works, how you feel, what's your perceptions, what's your trust level. That's all part of the culture. Now, change that with going into a university classroom, change that going into your first job, and or your first day on a job where you don't know how things work. Compare that to your 100th day at work, then you start to understand how things work. It's all part of the culture. Culture can be positive, it could be negative, and it's really, is the culture a good fit for you? And that really is important for you to determine. Assumptions about culture. We all have the desire and ability to learn about our social world and our place in it. We are socialized into cultural groups that we believe are meaningful and distinctive. Our cultural group Our culture group identities influence our self-concept, assumptions, values, and norms, relationships inside and outside groups, and relationships between cultural groups. Cultures are dynamically stable. There is significant diversity within cultures. So these are the assumptions that we have about culture. And I mentioned before about your family life, that culture, as it stated in the second to last bullet point, is dynamically stable. And there's a level of predictability with a culture. When you know you're going into a poor culture, you know you start to feel anxiety. You want to get out of the situation. You can't wait for it to be over. When you go in other cultural groups, or let's say you're out with your friends and you're within a tribe of your friends, that dynamic, that culture is fun, is exciting. You think of it differently. You don't want to leave. The time goes so fast. Different areas of your life, different groups of your life, different situations and different groups of people allow different cultures. So it's not just one big culture, it's individual cultures. So how do you manage diversity? So successful global leader, someone who can handle more complexity and uncertainty than domestic managers are typically accustomed to, who relate well with diverse groups of people, who listens more than talks, who craves adventure over the status quo, and who accepts that there's more than one way to skin a business problem. As one executive put it, good global leaders like getting up in the morning and saying, I have no idea what's going to happen today. And that lends to the unpredictability of the business world, and having the great people around you to give you confidence that you can tackle no matter what's going to happen, because you have a diverse group of thinkers. You have a diverse group of people who have various experiences, knowledge, education, resources, networks, all different things that make up your team. It's easier to go into battle when you know you have a medic, when you know you have a general, when you know you have a sniper. And these things, all these different pieces are different, what makes up a great culture of people who are working together with a common goal and have a diverse set of skills and are diversified within themselves. Let my house not be walled on four sides, let all the windows be open. Let all the cultures blow in, but let not culture blow me off my feet. It's a nice quote from Gandhi. We're trying to create an organizational culture that values and leverages diversity. Remember, small wins have a way of snowballing. One small change begets another, and eventually these small changes add up to a whole new system. I like this because people underestimate the power of small wins. And let me give you an example of why small wins are so powerful and so motivating and inspiring. It's easier and you're more motivated to achieve, to progress, to stay on point, to stay committed when you're getting shots of dopamine, which is small. Your body craves it. Your body craves completion. Your body craves being able to accomplish something. It really energizes yourself. If you only celebrate huge wins, people tend to lose their energy. Sometimes their focus. They're not reignited every day when they come in, or every week, or every month. And small wins gives those people the opportunity to feel an accomplishment, to be rewarded, to be accepted, to be revered. All those key things that come with winning. And people like to win, they don't like to lose. But the absence of losing is not winning at all. And so you're providing them an opportunity to win with very small wins. That's why when a lot of organizations, when they're doing projects, have what they call toll gates. So every different phases of a project has a toll gate. So when you complete one stage of your project, you get evaluated, you pass it, and you celebrate that win all the way up to the various stages until you launch your project or complete your project. Same logic. This just happens in marketing and advertising. You ever notice that in some situations when you go to whatever the place may be, a car wash or something, and they give you a card, a loyalty card, where they punch holes for every time that you go in there, and you punch all the holes, you get a free car wash. You notice how some people will clip the first one or clip the first two because they've already created a small win for you. They've already got you closer to your goal. They're already providing you the small wins. And it's a great psychological influencer. And it's the same thing, the small wins. You want to be able to celebrate those with your team, keep them motivated. Identify your cultural influences. So what makes up the self? And the self is yourself, but also the people around you. It's the gender, nationality, ethnicity, the race, the profession, the hierarchical level, family status, if you're low, middle, high class, education, and religion. All these things make up the cultural influences that we have in the corporate world. And now we're going to switch over to chapter 8. And obviously, these are a little condensed because we're having 2 chapters here. But I hope that piece on diversity helped you. And obviously, if you read the book, the book goes into much more detail and provides more information that I didn't cover. So chapter 8, creating high-performing teams. Do you want a collection of brilliant minds or a brilliant collection of minds? That's an interesting quote for you to feast on. Okay. What is a team? Individuals interacting interdependently. So teams made up of having clear boundaries, having common tasks, differentiated member roles, autonomy, dependence on external people and resources, collective responsibility. Just a few things about the commonalities of a team. Teams in contrast to work groups create their own purpose, feel more ownership of their work for each other as well as the organization, have more say over how they do the work, expect greater learning and personal fulfillment, do not feel that team members are interchangeable, so that means they're unique, can't be replaced, have leadership that spends more time creating a context for higher performance. Work teams, so let me define what's the difference between a team and a work group. So a team is a bunch of people who are hired within similar roles that are in there for the permanently in that role. A work group is a collection of people that are picked from different teams. So you pick from people from teams to create temporary working groups, temporary groups that are going to solve a problem or work on a project together, but are going to be disbanded when the project is done. Teams are not going to be disbanded. So let me give you an example. In terms of like sports or a band, or again, if you've experienced some of the working world as well, when you're hired into, let's say, a team of coders or a team of project managers, whatever it might be, the team itself is not going to disband. They're under an organizational hierarchy. They're under a manager, and those people that are around you are teammates, meaning that you're all judged the same. You're all by the one manager. You're all trying to attain the same goals within the same departmental milestones or expectations. Work groups are just bound by the performance measures and outcome that are required to fulfill a specific project. And teams is where culture lies. The work groups, although there will be a culture because every team will have one, they'll disband and it doesn't really matter. You just have to make sure you're getting along and you're handling any inner working group conflict to get through the project, and then you can say sayonara, and you can be on your way. So, but teams are very, very important because those are the people that you're going to be working with day in and day out until you leave or until they leave. High-performing teams. So high-performing teams are able to achieve better results in less time using fewer resources than lower-performing teams. A high-performing team may not succeed in its efforts all the time, but it does succeed most of the time. When you think of performance, obtaining results, think about it in terms of the output. Think of it in terms, not the output, my apologies. Think of it in terms of the process to attain an output. Your team, you can all repeat a process. You can all refer back to the way it was done successfully and repeat that process. It's much easier to repeat a process for which obtained you a great result than trying to replicate the great result. You're not always going to not always going to create that great result every single time, but you can focus on the process for which got you the great result. So what is it? Why do you define a process? So a process meaning the steps that were taken in a similar project prior can be replicated with similar projects moving forward. So you note those things. You create guides, you create implementation trainings, you create procedural trainings, process and procedures, whatever it may be. You can write those things down. You can create process flows. You can create those guides like I mentioned. You can cement those steps and repeat them no matter who the team members are. However, Just because you cement the process does not mean that you have a golden ticket. Outside of the process for the team is having those team members within the team that know their role, that stay in their lane, that hold each other accountable, hold themselves accountable, that are performing their specific unique talent in a way that is going to thrust the team forward, thrust the results forward, get things done on time, get things done accurately and with high quality. Those are all keys to high performing teams. Another key to high performing teams is that there's open communication. Conflict is handled openly. There's vulnerabilities. People trust each other. I trust that I can be vulnerable and try something and make a mistake without the fear of any repercussions or being chastised by my teammates, because they're all going to pick me up and support me. We have that great culture. We have that support system in place. So unique teams, or the best teams, are ones that work together, that hold each other up, that support each other, and that leverage their unique talents and hold each other accountable. So certainly dysfunctional teams sometimes deliver successful products and services. However, their success is not sustainable over time because the team's problems will eventually hinder the team from achieving consistently successful results due to poor decision-making, divisiveness among team members, engaging in mindless routines, and lack of commitment for all the team members. So what I just mentioned, and just in reverse, you're not obtaining or receiving the support. There's a lot of conflict that's not being resolved. People are becoming resentful of others. You're not agreeing on things, and which leads to poor decision making because you're not on the same page. People are not buying into the decisions that are being made. All these things will create that the divisiveness that will not allow your team to be and work at the same level of consistency and repeatability moving forward. Teams. No two team experiences are the same. Each has its own unique blend of people, work, products, and performance results. No teams ever approach a performance challenge in the same way, yet all teams that perform well have much in common. I kind of touch upon what those were. A high-performing team is a group of diverse team members, each of whom possesses resources related to the task, who are committed to working together toward common goals, effectively uses team member resources, knowledge, skills, experience, networks, etc. I kind of touched upon that in my previous statements. By using productive team processes, produces sustainable and repeatable superior results because the team makes better decisions with fewer errors in routine and non-routine situations. Again, I touched upon that as well, but it's good for you to see it once again. The team's ability to produce sustainable and superior results are based on the resources available to the team, effective team processes that enable team synergy. The resource available to the team plus effective team processes that enable team synergy, minus dysfunctional behaviors that block the effective use of team resources. So this was you as a manager. This is where you step in, and this is where you can help the team be successful. The resources available to the team, you can directly help them obtain resources or remove roadblocks that's preventing them from getting the resources that are needed. Effective team processes that enable team synergy. This is you being a manager and challenging your team and encouraging them to create those guides or repeatable processes that can be taken and leveraged in the future to be used again in similar situations. Also, conducting lessons learned sessions so you can look at what went right and what went wrong with the previous project or whatever the team has been working on, so you can determine how you can improve the process, improve the team dynamics, improve the communications, improve the networks, improve the systems that were being used. These are the things that contribute to constantly improving and getting better. Minus dysfunctional behaviors that block effective use of team resources. So determine what are the dysfunctional behaviors that are hindering successful team performance. Is there one person? Is there one person that's creating the dysfunction? You then cut that person out. Is it the inability for people to converge with each other, being able to eliminate roadblocks, learning how to effectively manage conflict. Some teams and some individuals may not know how to effectively handle conflict. So maybe there's a need for you to step in, understand, teach, coach, mentor those dysfunctional behaviors so the team gets comfortable with how to work those things out with each other, or giving tips on how to handle the dysfunction, and making sure that a lot of dysfunctional behaviors happen when people don't understand each other. So there's a lack of listening. So you as a manager can get in there and foster an environment and have open discussions about what's bothering people. And a lot of it is just a misunderstanding. A lot of people don't even know that they're being annoying or hindering a project because they think they're doing the right thing. So if you think you're doing the right thing and someone's giving you a hard time, now the person giving you a hard time is frustrated because you're not doing things right. And you start to think, what is this person's problem? I'm trying to help. And if you're not being open and transparent, that's where dysfunction happens. A lot of dysfunction is because of lack of communication. Well, this is a big slide. Characteristics of high-performing teams. There's 3 levels here. Leader creates conditions for high performance, team characteristics, and standards for team effectiveness. Mentioned before in the previous slide, leaders create conditions of high performance, develop self, provide supportive context, direction, structure, resources, design the internal team context, coach the team, manage team boundaries. I seem to be ahead of each slide when I'm explaining things. So, but again, gives you good segues into the slides we're getting into. These are important. Coaching the team, as I mentioned before, the advantages that you have of being an engaged manager, not disengaged, is to be able to eliminate some of the dysfunctions of a team, to leverage positive behaviors, to seek out and reward and recognize those people that are doing great things. Manage team boundaries. This allows you to see if people are going off the rails a little bit, or if the scope of the project is ABC and they're starting to dive into D, that's outside the guardrails of the project or the team, or someone's trying to be a team leader when they shouldn't be. And people naturally gravitate to being a leader within teams, and people naturally gravitate to being a follower, which both are fine and both are needed. We want to make sure people are not being too demanding or trying to serve a role which is causing dysfunction. Team characteristics, purpose of the team, why you are there. People want to know, why am I in this team? What are we trying to accomplish as a team? What are our goals? Again, it goes back to communication. What's the purpose? What is the why of the team? Why am I on this team? What is going to energize me? What are we trying to accomplish? How are we affecting change? How are we improve the organization? Who are our customers? How are we serving them? Why are we serving them? These are all purposes of the team that you have to communicate. With the performance standards, people want to know what they're going to be judged upon. Be clear. What am I going to be judged upon? As your employee, I want to know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how do you define success? What are the performance standards? Be clear. Don't just say, well, you do a good job, you get reward. No. If I do X, Y, and Z, and the metrics are clear and concise, then I feel comfortable because I know what I'm striving towards. Employees have to worry about their performance, and they have to make sure that the performance is up to par. They may not know that. You have to be clear so that alleviates anxiety. Proper processes in place. I cannot stress more the proper processes in place. If your team does repeatable things and you have proper processes in place to show how to do it, you're missing out on building repeatability. And also you're missing out on great training guides, training opportunities for new people. So they don't have to learn it from scratch. It's already there. They just pick it up and they can learn it. Preparation and practice and people. Standards for team effectiveness: provide quality output, contribute to personal well-being and development, enhance team competence and commitment over time. Characteristics of a high-performing team. Purpose: a clear and engaging purpose provides direction, inspires commitment toward common goals. Talked about that just now. I kind of alluded to about what the importance of purpose is. But this goes a little bit further. Inspires commitment towards common goals. That's very important. Performance standards. Clear, achievable measures of quality, quantity, speed, cost, and other performance standards helps people focus their efforts and provide a basis for relevant feedback that helps the team assess their progress toward these standards. Alignment is incredibly important, especially with employees, customers, vendors, your manager, your leadership. Alignment on what is expected of someone is important. If you're expecting something and they don't know you're expecting that, it's only going to lead to you perceiving them as being difficult or not being able, or being an underperformer when you didn't communicate what you expected of them. Performance standards are incredibly important, and it allows you to give accurate assessments, quarterly reviews, mid-reviews, yearly performance reviews, all important for you to have performance standards to evaluate your people accurately and fairly. And it eliminates the biases as well. Did you sell 10,000 units this year? Yes or no? That's a performance standard. There's no bias there. You did it or you didn't. It's clear. People, team members who have a specific perspective and expertise to offer the team, as well as both task and relationship skills, provide the team with the intellectual and other resources needed for the team to solve complex problems that couldn't be solved by any one person alone. Obviously, you want people that fit into the culture, the team dynamics. Every team within an organization have its own little culture. And the goal is for them to align to the overall culture, but because people are so diverse, the smaller the team, the more culture diverse you're going to be and deviate from the overall purpose or overall culture of the which the organization is trying to set forth. Again, the leadership and management, and you are trying to push and trying to encourage people to fall in line with the overall culture, but just the very nature of people is going to sway that little bit. You want to be hiring for culture. That's one of the important aspects of hiring, and one of the major important pillars to make sure that people are coming into the organization, your team, that are sharing those same values and cultural aspects, but there's always going to be a little deviation there. So continue on the characteristics of high-performing teams. Processes. Results-driven work processes enable team members to work together productively so that they can get better results in less time using fewer resources. And practice. Opportunities to reflect what the team members are learning from their collective experiences, successes, and failures enables the team to continuously improve their competence as individuals and a team. An effective purpose. So what makes an effective purpose? Consistent with organizational values and mission, create a sense of urgency, is positive and inspiring, is easily understood and remembered, has a long-term focus, is performance-based, is broad enough to be flexible, stretches team members' abilities, yet seems attainable, can be personalized by each team member. SMART goals, you may or may not have heard about this, and this is a way that, kind of going back to, real quick, the second bullet point from the bottom, stretches team members' abilities yet seems attainable. And that's a good segue into SMART goal. So a SMART goal, and these are, I'll just lay them out here. So a SMART goal is when it is specific and special, meaningful to the team member, is measurable, aligned with vision strategy, and are actionable. Realistic, which is achievable, and challenging, and time-bound. When considering goals, when considering creating them, or when you need to create goals, keep these in mind. Is the goal that you're trying to set forth specific and special, measurable, aligned with the vision and strategy, and actionable, realistic, and time-bound? Time-bound meaning you need to have put a boundary or a time limit or a goal, a date goal of when you want something to get done. If you create a goal without a reasonable time to get it done, a reasonable target to get it done in, there's no urgency. There's zero urgency when you don't or not make the goal time bound. Individual SMART goal example. So these show what a good or a vague goal is and what a bad goal or vague goal is and what a good or smart goal is. And you can see the difference. And this actually happens in the corporate world and the business world. You'll get these, not this at this extreme, but you'll get these things. When people ask you for things, they could be a very vague goal. And there may be an assumption that you know what they're talking about, and there may be an assumption that you know what they're talking about. That's why it's important to use mediums like email or active listening and the follow-up questions, making sure that you're understanding the full scope and breadth of what the person is asking for. But this is for example purposes. So individual SMART goal example for yourself. A vague goal, I want to retire early. That is not specific. It doesn't follow the SMART goal parameters, which we'll discuss in just about a minute there. There's no urgency. I want to retire early. What does that mean? I want to retire. There's nothing around it to allow you to be motivated, inspired to attain that goal. SMART goal. I want to have at least 3 million in my retirement account within 25 years from this date. I will do this by contributing the maximum pre-tax amount possible every month and working with a financial consultant every year to invest this money wisely. I will also have a savings account that will cover at least 6 months of my expenses by having money automatically deducted from my paycheck and put into a savings account each month. I will live below my means by living within the budget. Obviously, you can see the extreme difference, so it's pretty obvious, but that's what you get with a SMART goal. And it gives you a little checklist of all the components and elements that you need within your goal to make it a SMART goal. What's a team SMART goal example? So a vague goal. We will develop more relationships with people and teams outside of our teams. Outside of our team. SMART goal. At our December 15th meeting, the team will 1, target 3 divisions from whom we need to support, and 2, develop a plan of action for building a mutually supportive relationship with these divisions. The team will assess progress on the development of these relationships at our scheduled team meeting on January 15th by identifying how many relationships we have actually made and what benefits we have gained and given from each of these relationships. It's more specific, obviously, and it gives a direction and it provides alignment with the team. So everyone knows what they're doing. There's no assumption here, and you can use this to position your team to go forward together. What advantages of SMART goals? Clarifies directions, helps turn ideas into reality, helps prioritize tasks and time, helps team know what to say no to, helps team members clarify their roles and contributions, helps provide feedback on whether the team is moving toward the goals. Again, all in the spirit of conformity, uniformity, and being aligned. How do you design a task that inspires high performance? This is a very good slide. Clear boundaries. People have to know what they're doing to have the clarity and focus on what they need to accomplish. Meaningfulness, task significance, task identification, skill variety. How can you make the tasks meaningful? So how can you give them a purpose? What's the why of doing it? That all contributes to how meaningful the task will be. The autonomy of it. How likely are you going to give the team the creative freedom, the ability to go their own direction, even if it may be different from what you would do? The autonomy is the ability to allow people to do and accomplish goals by their own means and fruition without having you tell them what to do. Feedback. Allow the team to get your feedback, but not in a way that directs them, but provides ways to directionally provide them guidance. I talked about this before, but the small wins. You inspire and re-energize people when you're celebrating those small wins. And that was the end of the slide. The characteristics of high-performing team members. They're committed to the team's purpose because you know it, they bought into it, and you've promoted it. Specific expertise to offer a team, the diversification of the different skill sets that people can bring. Flexible, not advocates of particular method or function. So that goes back to the autonomy. You're allowing people to interject their own experiences, skill sets, knowledge, different models of behavior, whatever it might be. You're allowing the flexibility. General problem solving, decision making, implementation skills, relationship skills, being adaptive to the situations and aware of their own strengths and weaknesses, and allowing people to celebrate their strengths and weaknesses. You be in a lot of situations, you will experience this because not all managers that you'll have will have the breadth of knowledge that you will possess, but some managers try to fix your weaknesses and take for granted your strengths, so don't leverage your strengths. Don't put those strengths on a pedestal. Don't boost them up. Don't focus on strength and positioning you to utilize those strengths only, and downplay your weaknesses by not putting you in situations where you have to constantly address those weaknesses. Know who you are. Know what you can do, what you can't. Be honest with yourself and try to align yourself to the best place you can. And you as a manager need to pay attention to your team's strengths and weaknesses as well. People are more happy when they're doing things that they like because it's usually a strength of theirs, right? And that builds the team culture because you're leveraging the positivity of people. I love this slide. This is very good. Don't worry about, this is not a, I'm not asking you to do anything here, but keep this in the back of your mind. Keep this with you forever. Forever meaning keep this in the back of your mind when you are in a meeting, when you're in one of your employees' meetings, or if you're have your own meeting as well. This is fantastic. Pay attention to how much you are costing the company. How much is your employees costing the company? There are going to be situations when you're in a meeting and you think, why the heck am I in this meeting? I'm not going to contribute. I really don't know what the topic, how a topic relates to me. I wasn't prepped on what my contribution should be. And I'm just totally lost. And you'll be in those situations. Conversely, you'll be leading meetings where you've invited people that maybe shouldn't be there, but you have to pay attention to this. Make sure that you're only going to be inviting people to your meetings that need to be there. The people that need to know the outcome of a meeting don't need to be there. You just need to make sure you're taking good notes, good action items, noting what the issues and risks are and the mitigation strategies for them, and then sending those meeting minutes or meeting notes with that information to those people, include those people as well. For every person you bring in there, let's say you have an hour meeting, you have 10 people, okay, for that an hour meeting. If not everyone is supposed to be there, you're costing the company an hour of those people's time. If people are making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year, you are now costing the company their value because you are utilizing their time inefficiently. You are not being a good steward of the organization. You are not allowing people to best utilize their talents and their time most appropriately because you just you just invited a bunch of people without doing your homework. Make sure that you're inviting the right people. It's very important. It could be costly. Team leadership, the most important lesson effective team leaders learn is that their most important job is managing the context in which the team works rather than directly intervening in the team's work. You are not responsible for what the team's output. You are, well, ultimately you are, but bear with me. You're not responsible for the output. You are responsible for the environment in which the team can create the best output. You are responsible for the context, for the environment, to ensure they have the right resources, to ensure that all the roadblocks are being deterred, make sure that you're handling dysfunction, make sure you're celebrating and being a cheerleader. You're not an individual contributor anymore. You're not in the weeds with them. You're not contributing to the task at hand. You're responsible for the environment. A lot of individual contributors who get promoted to managers don't get it. And people that hire or promote people who are great individual contributors to management roles don't look at all the skills and talents that are needed to be a manager, and they hire the wrong people in the positions because of how well they've done as an individual contributor. That's a little sidebar there. Make sure that you know that you are responsible for the environment for which your team to thrive in. Work team management or supervision is often identified as the primary reason why self-managing teams fail to properly develop and yield improvements in productivity, quality, and the quality of life. Source business without bosses. Team leadership, and here's some skills that I wanted to share with you. So team leadership skill 1, invest in ongoing personal development, develop self-awareness to understand group dynamics, learn effective team leadership techniques. If you think you've learned everything, then you're doomed. You're doomed because your ego's too big, and you're going to be missing out on some very vital and important information that the industry, that your company, that just in general, the academia has been learning, has been refining, has been innovating what educational opportunities are out there. Make sure you utilize those. Team leadership skill number 2, designing a work context that enables the team to do its best work. When this says work context, I say work environment, the environment for which they work in. So a sense of identity as a bounded team. I gotta go back to the why. Why are they there? What's the purpose? Identify what the purpose is so they can form their identity. A supportive work culture, work environment, clear, engaging goals, and enabling task design, appropriate and well-timed coaching, encouraging positive social interactions, and connecting the team externally. For Winston Churchill, we shape our dwellings, and afterwards our dwellings shape us. Really good quote. Team leadership skill number 3, encourage positive social interactions. High-performing teams had about a 6-to-1 ratio of positive negative statements, whereas low-performing teams had ratios of less than 1-to-1, meaning that more than half of what was said was negative. People on the high-performing teams had an even balance between asking questions and advocating for their own points of view, and also an equal measure of focusing outward and focusing within the group. Low-performing teams had asked almost no questions and almost never focused outside the group. They exhibited a self-absorbed advocacy. Nobody was listening to each other. They were all just waiting to talk. All things we just discussed and I discussed from previous slides. Team leadership skill number 4, connect the team externally. Role model appropriate cross-team behavior, articulate common vision that inspires interdependence, set clear expectations, manage communication, promote flexibility, reward cooperation, have teams spend time together, change physical layout, redefine boundaries, create gatekeeping roles. Very important that your team is not working in a silo. Your team is going to be relying on other teams in a matrixed environment. You hear that term, matrixed environment. It's essentially that teams within an organization are working with other teams within their organizations to accomplish a common goal. You'll have people that, so you've got a project team. You'll have people that are coders. You have people that are testers, that are project managers, that are client managers, that are networking or networks. You have this various group of teams working together who are trying to accomplish a common goal. You have to be able to work with these teams externally, as they call them externally, meaning external from your group. Gates won't fund AIDS researchers unless they pull data. Bill Gates, referring to Bill Gates, the original founder of Microsoft. So guided by the belief that every life has equal value, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation works to help all people lead healthy, productive lives. In developing countries, it focuses on improving people's health and giving them the chance to lift themselves out of hunger and extreme poverty. In the United States, it seeks to ensure that all people, especially those with the fewest resources, have access to the opportunities they need to succeed in school and life. Frustrated that over 2 decades of research have failed to produce an AIDS vaccine, Bill Gates is tying his foundation's biggest AIDS vaccine grants to a radical concept. Those who get the money first must agree to share results of their work in short order. Even as age researchers around the world strive toward common goals, they do so largely independent of one another due to a mix of commercial interests, bureaucratic jostling, and personal rivalries. Like most biomedical research, results of age-related studies are often carried out in secrecy, with successes and failures closely held until they are published in scientific journals months later. Now, Mr. Gates' Family Foundation is putting $287 million new 5-year grants behind the notion that pooling results can surmount the massive technical hurdles that have hindered individuals, sometimes competing efforts. The whole field recognizes that in order to meet the humongous challenge, we have to change the way we work, Dr. Hellman says. There have to be better networks and collaborations, so we require all grantees to collaborate across the spectrum of grants. Through such data sharing, Dr. Hellman says, rival teams can build on successes, avoid pitfalls, eliminate redundancy. Simply put, the more we are able to collaborate externally with outside of our groups, share successes, results, and focus on the overall ultimate common goal, more can get done efficiently, with less time, and more collaborative, with a more collaborative culture. It's very important. And people like Bill Gates, who has run a business, who understands how synergies work, who understands that working together produces the best teams, has a lot of money, has the means, and has the influence to force this. And those are the real leaders in our society. Those unsung heroes are those real leaders. How to create an externally connected team? Make external outreach a mindset from day one, making it okay to be able to reach out to your neighbor. That's not taboo to walk across your floor and say hi to Frank in accounting. Choose members for the networks and their ability to build connections across groups. Identify energizers inside and outside the team and make connections with energizers whenever possible. Set milestones, deliverables that keep teams connected and moving forward together. Get top management commitment. Very important as well. And that's the end of our slideshow for this week. I hope that was insightful. And again, I do encourage you to read the chapter 7 and 8 to get more insight, and also watch the videos and make sure you get those assignments turned in. Thank you so much for watching. And